to our Vivid Americas 2017 Awards announcement. This is a live webinar, and we appreciate you all joining us. I realize that our nominees have invited a lot of people within their own network that may not be very familiar with Vivid, so we just wanted to remind you that we are the HPE software user community that is endorsed by HPE, and it was started by customers like yourself back in 1993. We are your source of information for HPE software that is completely unbiased, uncensored, and field tested. And our community is made up of the best and the brightest in the industry like yourselves, and these are people that connect through thought leaders and share their expertise and experience. So if you're new to Vivid, we welcome you to join our community and to get involved, as you'll see how some of these nominees have done so far today. My name is Terry Sorello, and I will be one of the presenters today because I am the Americas LUG, which stands for Local User Group, and Special Interest Group Liaison. So I support our leaders in the Americas region. Joining me as well is Richard Bishop, who is our President and Board of Directors for Vivid Worldwide. Richard also is a leader in the UK, and he also is a SIG leader. So welcome, Richard. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
I just want to do a quick housekeeping because some of you also may be new. It's a new platform that Vivid is using for webinars. It is a live session. It is being recorded, and you will receive a follow-up email with the link to the recording. So we also invite you to share that with your colleagues and your professional network. These recordings are available to all Vivid members on our website as well. And if you would like to enlarge the presentation screen for your optimal viewing pleasure, you can click on the rectangle in the upper right corner that's represented by the red arrow here. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to invite Richard to review with you the agenda for our webinar today.
Thank you very much, Terry. Yes, on today's live webinar, we're going to share with you the nominees and ultimately the winner of the Vivid Americas Awards for 2017. Typically, we've held this awards ceremony at the HPE Discover Conference in June, and we hold a similar one at the HPE Discover Conference in EMEA, or somewhere else in the world, in December. Obviously, since there is a smaller software presence at the Discover conferences this year, we're presenting this virtually to you. So at the appropriate time, because you aren't all standing around our booth with glasses of champagne in your hands, you're going to have to just imagine that little bit. So we'll lose a little, but hopefully gain a larger audience by doing it this way. We're then going to invite the winners to share a few words with the audience. Appreciate their thanks to us. And finally, we'll wrap up with updates on the spin merger between HPE and Micro Focus to talk about Vivid community in the future. So every 12 months, Vivid asks the community to nominate those individuals who, in our members' opinion, have gone above and beyond what is normally expected of a leader to share their expertise with our members in 3 different categories. So we have Leader of the Year, Speaker of the Year, and Champion of the Year. These nominations come from the membership, so they really are valuable and show how the nominees have contributed to our community. So the Leader of the Year is a special interest group or local user group leader who has consistently organised valuable events for their Vivid groups. The Speaker of the Year is a member who's presented at local user group meeting or in a webinar that particularly stood out from the rest. My notes say in some way, and I just want to stress that that is in a good way. So yes, that's the Speaker of the Year. The Champion of the Year, meanwhile, is a Vivid member who's displayed outstanding efforts to advance or grow the Vivid community. And often these people come from within HPE itself, and people who recognise us and recognise the value that Vivid can bring to their customers. So I'll hand over now to Terry, who will introduce the nominees.
Thank you, Richard. We're going to first share with you the Leader of the Year nominees. And our first is Ruby Calaray, And Ruby is our leader out of the St. Louis and Kansas City, Missouri local user groups. And she actively holds events and was nominated for this award as she is constantly going physically between the two areas, which is about a 4.5-hour drive, and sometimes is doing that in one day. And so the community members there really wanted to thank her, and they appreciate all that she brings to the community. Thomas Essington is also our local user group leader out of Arizona. And he's a co-leader with another nominee, Mark Herbert, and they both lead multiple events, more than 2 a year, which is the minimum to remain an active chapter. They're generally surveying their membership, and they hold about 4 a year on topics very wide across all the HPE software pillars. And Thomas is the assistant manager at Discount Tire in the Arizona place. So Mark Herbert, let me just jump to Mark really quick, as he co-leads that same local user group. And he is not only the leader in Arizona, he also serves as vice president on our board. And unfortunately, because of that fact, Mark is not able to receive the award, so to speak, but we definitely want to recognize him for all of his efforts. And Mark is the software quality analyst at Dignity Health. So in a similar category, let me jump to Rocky Pisto. Rocky is the VP of Sales for PCI, a partner in the HPE ecosystem. And he was nominated for being the co-founder and co-chairperson of the Ohio User Group. Without Rocky, there would be no users in the Ohio region that come together in the Vivint community setting. So he was nominated by one of his members, and we thank Rocky for that. Since Rocky also wears a hat of a Vivint staff member, he also cannot receive the award, but we definitely wanted to appreciate all that he does for our community. Next, I'm going to introduce Chris Trimper. Chris is the manager of QA engineering for Independent Health, an HPE end user out of the Western New York Buffalo region. And Chris actually is the founding leader for that local user group that was just formed a few years ago. He hit the ground running and holds generally about quarterly events, and the members there appreciate his coffee chats, that they get sit around in a very informal setting and just really share a lot of best practices. And he was nominated because he has really helped their members there improve how they use the HPE tools within their own companies. So thank you for that, Chris. And Jeff Downs is solution architect for Tasktop Technologies. Jeff actually took on the leader for our software lifecycle integration SIG last year, and in a year's time has held multiple webinars. Being a SIG leader, those are not physical face-to-face events. Instead, they're webinars that are online. So his peers have actually shared that he's always providing relevant topical news and updates for individuals in the software development space, and improving, again, the way they integrate HPE software tools across the company's software platform. So thank you for that, Jeff. And the next two nominations are co-leaders as well. Ramesh Subramaniam and Mohit Verma, who actually both co-lead the New England local user group for Vivint. Ramesh is the technical team lead at Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare in the Boston area, and Mohit is a performance engineering evangelist, so with Tufts Health Plan, and both of them have such a vast area of knowledge that they share with their community that their members sincerely appreciate all that they do, and again, help their members do their jobs better with HPE software. So those are our Leader of the Year nominees. And I'd like to advance to our Speaker of the Year nominees. And these can be face-to-face local user group presentations, they can be webinars, they can be breakout sessions, roundtables that are held at various conferences over the year. So our first nominee is Amir Benet, And Amir is a senior product manager at HPE and has spoken on multiple Vivint webinars, but also was mainly nominated for his breakout sessions that he held at Discover. He's always an engaging speaker, especially around his area of expertise, which is Lean FT, and he's very passionate about that and therefore received the nomination. Mark Flagg, another nominee, is the Global Product Director for a corporation service company out of the Delaware area. And Mark recently spoke on a Vivint webinar around security issues, which is a very hot topic for a lot of companies today. Mark is an expert in his field, and the community and especially the participants in that webinar nominated him for Speaker of the Year for the information that he shared and the way that he presented it, and as well as his follow-up for the community after that webinar. Karen Dix is also a nominee for Speaker of the Year. Karen she is recently, and lucky her, retired from Malillo Consulting. Karen is the Managing Director, or was, and VP, and has spoken at numerous Vivint conferences, and the reason for this nomination was her most recent at our roundtable at Discover last year. So we appreciate Karen and all that she does for the Vivint community. Jason Benfield is another Speaker of the Year nominee, and Jason is with HPE. He is a leader in product management teams around the performance testing arena. And Jason was nominated for his presentation at a recent Arizona local user group meeting, actually by our leader there. So especially as the user groups evolve and members share more and more feedback via surveys and commentary, the user groups adapt, and Jason really had an engaging I would call it more of a roundtable discussion where he brought in points that everyone wanted to talk about. It was not just a one-way presentation, and therefore was nominated for Speaker of the Year. And lastly, Mark Ford, Mark is also on our Vivint board, but he's a lead developer for TIAA CREF out of the North Carolina area. And he recently spoke on a webinar that was organized by Jeff Downs, and it was all about the implementation of TaskTop tools within TIAA CREF. And so he really, again, was nominated for sharing his knowledge, sharing his lessons learned to, again, improve the actual implementation of some of our other members so they don't reinvent the wheel. So we appreciate Mark being on that webinar and sharing his knowledge. Unfortunately, as he sits on our Vivint board, he is not able to receive the award, but again, it's very important to be recognized. And can you all hear me okay? I'm just getting a quick little note.
I can hear you fine.
Okay. And we're going to move to the last Champion of the Year nominee. And there were 6 in this category. And the first is Claude Couillard, who was nominated. He is the Canadian and Central Team Leader for HPE. And he was nominated for being on helping our local user group leaders in the Canadian region, all across Toronto, Vancouver region, Montreal, et cetera, helping them bring Vivint members together and shares speakers for us and also just different ideas, brings HPE pre-sales engineering to help with customer questions, et cetera. So thank you, Claude, for all that you do for our leaders in particular in Canada. And I also have to say he was nominated along with Jason because the two worked very closely together. Jason is also on the Canadian marketing team as a program manager. So he really helped implement a lot of the ideas that we're all brainstorming for to bring forth to our communities. So for that, he was nominated as Champion of the Year, bringing forth Vivint to the members in Canada. We also have Liz Lovelace, who wears many hats as far as she is the Director of Marketing for Mobius Partners. multiple hats because she's actually the leader out of several different local user groups in the Texas. Big state of Texas has about 5 different user groups. So Liz heads up the one in Houston, in San Antonio, and also supports her coworker that leads the Austin region. So for that and for your, coordinating multiple events and also having meetups at conferences for the Vivid community and all that you do to support us at local conferences, Liz, you were nominated as Champion of the Year. David Hensel is another one of our nominees, and David is with HPE, and he's the Senior Strategic Account Executive out of the Arizona region, nominated for his help over the year in coordinating multiple events in the local Arizona local user group meetings. He has actually, again, similar to Jason, is tirelessly promoting Vivid, and he's also, what's really important is if his customers are not currently privy to Vivid and what it has to offer for themselves using the HPE software, David is key at inviting them into the Vivid meeting so that they know there's another resource for them to tap into. It's not just about selling them the software and leaving them alone. It's about helping them use it better. So for that, David, you were nominated as Champion of the Year. And Robert Linton, who I'm sure a lot of you recognize Robert's face. He's received many nominations because he's a very active member of our Vivid community. Robert is the VP of ALM for Cortex. And he really started as a TQA SIG leader, but at our request and based on his work with the government, has added to his portfolio being a SIG leader of our U.S. federal SIG. And he's holding not only webinars, but face-to-face engagement in the Washington, D.C. area for our members. And that is a newly revitalized SIG. And it's going to be more and more important as we migrate to the spin, merge, and complete with Micro Focus, as there's going to be a very specific focus on the government solutions aspect of Micro Focus. And Robert is always bringing forth the Vivid community in all the work that he does. So thank you for that, Robert. We also have Laura Walker, who is a previous board member, and Laura is been nominated many times as well, but she continues in her tireless support of the Vivid community. She's the Director of Business Development for Stratacom out of Colorado. She not only is a SIG leader, but she also is a local user group meeting covering many states across the United States where she travels for business as well. Besides holding these local events or webinars, Laura is continuously spending many hours supporting Vivid at local HPE conferences where, and you might have recently just met her at the ITOM conference in Dallas, where she was with our Vivid team and constantly bringing her customers and sharing what Vivid is and what the community can do for these Vivid members. So those are our Champion of the Year nominees. Thank you all for that, and thank you to our community for bringing forth these nominations. And the last one we want to share with you, I guess I covered them all, didn't I? Sorry about that. So Richard, at this time, I'd like to invite you to bring forth the announcements.
Sorry, I will, and thank you very much. I hadn't realised I'd put myself on mute. So pleased to announce that the Champion of the Year award goes to David Hensel. Terry has already mentioned briefly some details of David, but I'll go into a little bit more detail. He's an account manager in the Southwest. I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure why that jumped forward then. I'll go back a slide. He's an account manager for HPE in the Southwest and manages HPE strategic accounts in the ADM business unit. He has 20 years of IT sales experience with an extensive background in software development tools and processes. He has a BBA from the University of Wisconsin-Madison and an MBA from the University of San Diego. He lives in Phoenix, Arizona with his wife and 2 children. David was nominated for playing a significant role in making the Arizona local user group successful. David is a big supporter of Vivid and has worked tirelessly to promote Vivid and the local user group to his customers, helping to drive attendance to local user group events and bringing new members to Vivid through his efforts. David takes an active role in helping the leaders there plan their local user group events and coordinates support and sponsorship from his HPE software colleagues and partners. David's continued support has helped the Arizona user group immensely, and it's growing, and it's one of our most successful user groups. So thank you very much, David. If David's there, I think you can say a few words.
Hello, everyone. Can you see me?
Okay, thanks, David. Here you go.
Hi, everyone. Can you see me and hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, thank you very much for this award. I really appreciate being nominated and awarded the Champion of the Year award. I'd like to thank the local user group community here in Arizona. It's a fantastic group with great leadership from Mark and Thomas. On behalf of HPE, the marketing team, management, and technical community, we're thrilled that Vivid plays such an active role in Arizona with our customers. We enjoy engaging with our customers in Vivid on a pretty much quarterly basis. So they've always been open and engaging to try different things, to try to reach customers with relevant speakers and content. So with that, I really appreciate this award again and look forward to continuing to work with the local Vivid chapter to make it one of the best in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
Okay, and our Speaker of the Year award goes to Jason Benfield. I think you may have seen a little sneak preview of that when I slightly over-advanced the slides, but so I hope I didn't spoil the surprise too much. Jason leads the Performance Engineering Product Management team at HPE. Prior to joining HPE, he served as Director of Product Marketing at Blueprint. He's also led agile transformation efforts and worked as a product manager and product owner at several Fortune 500 companies, including Dell and Cisco, as a professional services consultant. Jason spent the first half of his career in software development after graduating from Southern Methodist University in Dallas. Jason was nominated for his efforts at a recent local user group event. The leader explained to Jason that they needed more of an interactive conversation amongst attendees rather than a straightforward presentation. Jason really delivered on this and shared information on a wide variety of topics, including those that the members asked for based on the results of a recent survey. Jason went above and beyond to share the latest information concerning the spin merge with Micro Focus and the roadmap for ADM products. He engaged the audience and facilitated a true interactive conversation, which is exactly what the leaders were looking for. Jason even left with 3 or 4 pages worth of notes to take back to the HPE R&D team based on the feedback that he drew out from Vivid members who attended the meeting. And that's a great example of the feedback that Vivid members provide to HPE, either directly or through intermediaries such as Jason. So for that, thank you very much. If you'd like to say a few words.
Okay, there he is. There you go, Jason. Thank you.
Hey, yeah, I wanted to say thanks. I really appreciate this, and I'm flattered. I'm glad to hear that it's actually a positive differentiation, as was clarified earlier. But no, seriously, as a product manager, having the opportunity to go out and talk with our customer base, understand what some of their challenges are, and get feedback it's just irreplaceable as far as the value is concerned. Even our conversation out in Phoenix, we were able to add some things to our backlog and reprioritize some things we're looking at in the future. So it just provides tremendous value, and I really appreciate the opportunity and hope to have that opportunity again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you, Jason. I'll bring your slides back, Richard. There you go.
Thank you. Okay, and last but definitely not least, the Leader of the Year award goes to Jeff Downs. I'm not quite sure whether you can make it out on there, but his name's popping up. Jeff is a principal solutions architect with TaskTop. At TaskTop, Jeff helps companies in a wide variety of industries to make better use of software development and delivery tools and enable collaboration across the software lifecycle through integration. Jeff also has more than 10 years of hands-on testing and test tool experience at LexisNexis, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, where he helped guide the transformation of their test center of excellence. As an HPE test tool administrator, Jeff drove the effort to improve efficiency and capability through tool best practices, integration and administration. Jeff was nominated for this award because in the years since stepping into the Special Interest Group leader role, he's hosted multiple webinars, coordinated Vivit Roundtable discussions at HPE Discover, and worked with several local user groups to support their team. The wildly popular webinars and roundtables are proof that the Software Lifecycle Integration, or SLI SIG, is delivering content that's relevant to the challenges that HPE software users are facing today. Jeff is an excellent source of information across a variety of tools and industries. He's the go-to resource for quality assurance answers. Jeff gave an excellent presentation, which was already mentioned earlier, with Mark Ford of the IAA CREF, and he's always informed about Vivit events, either online or in person, and actively promotes our content and message. So on behalf of everybody at Vivit and our membership, thank you very much, Jeff.
All right, thank you for the award. Thanks to all of my peers for nominating me for the award. We've done a lot in the last year since I sat at Discover in Vegas last summer, and Terry convinced me to take over this SIG. But it's been a good year. Like you said, Richard, the content certainly seems to be relevant and current to a lot of the challenges that people are facing right now with their HPE tools and being able to connect them to offerings from the third-party software providers. So looking forward to a lot more great content in the coming year.
Thank you very much, and congratulations once again. So I'd like to say thank you to all of our leaders. We're primarily a volunteer-led organization made up of customers and practitioners of HPE software. And the leaders who have won these awards are those who've genuinely gone above and beyond what we expect from our leadership. So we want to thank all of those who support us within the community or at HPE, but obviously especially our 3 award winners today. So thank you very much. Okay, I'll go on and just give a brief update about where Vivit stands. This is typically something we do at the Discover conference each year. We give a sort of State of the Union address. So I'll just go into a little detail of that. I'm pleased to say that our membership is still growing and growing very rapidly. As of earlier on this week, we've got 39,964 members across 157 countries. So we're getting extremely close to the 50,000 mark. And we've added 2,000 additional members since the last Discover conference in London in December. We're pleased to say that we're growing across all regions as well, in the traditional heartlands of the US and Europe, as well as further afield in Asia, where we're seeing extra growth. This shows our growth over the last 2.5 years, and as it says on the slide, we're getting really close to that 40,000. It would have been nice to do it for today, but if between an extra 30 or so people, then try and get them to join, and we'll hit that mark. So we attribute our steady growth to increased participation of our members in webinars from the Engage program, as well as obviously promotion of Vivit at Discover events and other conferences. As a few speakers have already alluded to, we have a close alignment with HPE sales teams and product marketing teams, and they introduce us to their customers, and our members introduce us to new members. So we're growing, as I said, all over the world. And the key market for us this year has been Asia, where we've grown 30%, but we're still growing 16-17% in EMEA and North America. So a quick review of the last 12 months. I won't go into too much detail, but you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, many of you have seen this already, but we've rebranded, and our new logo obviously represents the refresh that we went through just before the last conference in December. The new logo is designed to show V for Vivid, as well as highlighting in 3 different colours our 3 foundation pillars of community, advocacy and education. And I think in the awards that we've given out today, we're demonstrating that we are following those 3 pillars. Community is pretty obvious because that's what we are, but advocacy is well demonstrated by the fact that we're giving that feedback to HPE about what's actually going on at ground level with their software products when they're in use, and feeding things back into R&D teams, for example. As well as that, education is something that we focus on, and generally sharing knowledge is that, but we've got a few more ideas about how we can expand our education portfolio in the next 12 months and going on beyond that. I'll talk about that a little later. So as I've already said, our membership growth has been good, and we've been working on ways to increase member engagement, and it may well be that we use different approaches in different geographical areas in future. With this in mind, we're working on a mobile application, which Mark Ford's done an awful lot of work on, allowing members to keep track of local events, but also register for webinars and ultimately consume content such as recorded webinars online. But it should also help us track attendees at face-to-face meetings and allow communication between members who are on the move. So we're planning on a dual approach to support face-to-face and online meetings to suit the preferences of different members, because we found that different geographies have very different requirements in terms of what they would like from the user group. The other thing we've been looking at is working internally to define the things that we know we do well and those where we could improve, and we're taking that information to HPE and ultimately Micro Focus to discuss the things that we can focus on to take the user group forward post-merger. So all of this puts us in a good position to move forward with the new HPE Micro Focus company. And as the final point mentions, since September, when the announcement was made about the spin merger, industry speculation about Micro Focus and HPE has dominated most of the comment about HPE. But behind the scenes, HPE has been very much business as usual, and it's still working hard to develop the next generation of products. Where I'm working at the moment, we've been helping with beta evaluations of the next version of Performance Center, which is scheduled for release later this year. And we've also seen sneak previews of the version beyond that. So it's obvious that HPE's R&D effort isn't slackening as a result of the changes that are on the horizon. I think we can be sure that the new business won't stop innovating because they've got their eye on these long-term products. So there's a few points there. First of all, I'll start off with a few details about Micro Focus. We've already blogged about this and it's on our website, but it's probably worth going over for people who may not be fully aware of it. Micro Focus was founded in Newbury, England in 1976 and initially focused on software products based on COBOL. The company specializes in bridging the gap between modern and legacy systems, either by helping migrate from, for example, mainframes to newer platforms, or introducing concepts like DevOps to traditionally slow-moving world of the mainframe. Over recent years, Micro Focus has grown organically as well as by acquisition, notably in 2009 when it bought Borland Software, and in 2014 when it acquired Attachmate. The Borland deal gave it access into the ALM marketplace, and Attachmate added the Novell, NetIQ, and SUSE product lines to the portfolio. The merger with HPE will improve their combined software portfolio in application development as well as the ops management areas where HPE software has traditionally been strong. Micro Focus has a good track record of taking ownership of established software businesses and improving their profitability by simplifying business processes and strategy, consolidation and slimming down management structures. This should reinvigorate the HPE software business, which has market-leading products, but has been in the shadow of the much larger hardware business units within HPE. Micro Focus historically, when it's acquired organisations has retained established brand names of the companies that it acquires, which is why Suzy, Borland, Novell and Attachmate brands are still in existence. Obviously, it's going to be impractical to retain the name HPE within their product sets, but it may mean that older brands that we're familiar with, such as Mercury Interactive, Vertica potentially, could make a comeback. That's purely speculation on my part, by the way, and as someone who's used Mercury products in the past, I would give it the thumbs up, because I still kind of think about some of the products as being Mercury. So in terms of how this will affect the user group, as the independent software user group, Vivit will obviously be affected by the changes. Over recent years, we've grown significantly, gaining members at HP and HPE Discover conferences and running webinars to complement our traditional face-to-face meetings. Obviously, this is going to change, but we've adapted before and I'm sure we'll adapt again. Micro Focus, from what we've seen, have smaller conferences, which in my experience can actually be more valuable to attend because they increase the chances that you'll end up talking to somebody about mutual interests, rather than, for example, having someone who's a specialist in fiber optic networks talking to someone who's interested in automated software deployments. I think if you go to a conference where it's more tailored to your specialism, sometimes that can be more valuable. Vivit's last reinvention came in 2007 when, after the acquisition of the Mercury Interactive business, it wasn't appropriate to use the words OpenView as part of the name of the user group. We chose the name Vivit to represent living IT, and it served us well. As HP Software expanded, we reinvented the user group to cater for the expanding customer base, and the merger with Micro Focus gives us an opportunity to do this again. As I mentioned earlier, we're re-evaluating what we do well and looking for areas to improve to make sure that we remain your trusted software user community. As HPE restructures in anticipation of the merger with Micro Focus, we've seen some changes in the people that we engage with at HPE. We're delighted to be working more closely with John Jeremiah, who's one of the founders of Tech Beacon. John has a passion for sharing insight and advice on industry trends, and it's great to be working with him to bring information to our members and help HPE Software to stay engaged with their customers. We're looking to develop an education program through him, and that's something that we're very keen on to bolster one of those three pillars of Vivit that I mentioned earlier. We're also speaking to people at Micro Focus, and post-merger we're going to work with them to develop Vivit as a larger user group. Until details of the merger are announced in greater detail, all we can really be sure of is that we face a period of change. After all, nothing stays the same for long in the technology industry. Ahead of the merger, we've already heard conflicting requests from our members as well as our sponsors at HPE. Some people want more webinars, others want more face-to-face meetings. And faced with these conflicting viewpoints, we're doing what we can to keep everybody happy, basically. We've invested in a new webinar platform, which you've seen today, and the idea behind that is to make our web content more engaging. And the fact that we can now embed live software demos and video, as well as the more traditional PowerPoint-type presentation, shows that we're definitely better in that area. I mentioned also that we're working on a mobile app to help our members stay up to date with news and view on-demand content. And it may well be that we adopt different approaches in different geographies. So more face-to-face in some regions, more web content in others. But I know that we're geared up to support either of these because of the changes that we've made over the last 12 months. One of the things that I heard earlier is that the actual merger date is now going to be September the 7th. I've been working with September the 1st in my head for quite some time, but I mentioned the date to somebody from HPE yesterday who literally about a quarter of an hour before this presentation started sent me a link to a website with details of the spin merger focused on whether or not you're a partner or whether or not you're a customer, and also with detailed specific geography. So we'll send the details of that link out later, but it has details about how things are going to change and how you'll interact with HPE in the future, so it's well worth a look after this call. So as I've said, we'll work over the next 12 months on the next chapter for Vivit and our membership, and I, for one, am feeling positive about these changes. The software that we've all built our careers on represents the core of what Micro Focus will offer to customers. And rather than being a small software cog in a large organization, it's going to be a pure software company, and I think that that's a great thing for our members. So key dates, I've already alluded to one, but from June the 1st, new holding companies are formed in different geographies. They hold key assets, and then from September the 7th, the new organisation will come into being. In the meantime, we'll obviously be here to support our members and help keep you informed and advised. And I think that concludes what I have to say about the Micro Focus spin merger. So I'll pass you back to Terry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. And I would like to add on to that, as he mentioned, we're looking for inputs from our community as well as we move into the next phase of who Vivit will be. So we are actually putting out a membership survey that will be coming out in June for you. So we would really appreciate, and we have some incentives for you to complete that survey for us. The goal is to really find out how we can better engage with our community. Are we providing what you're looking for, or do we need to make some changes, as Richard mentioned, et cetera? So please, if you can, take part in that. You'll see it in June. And I do want to back up and apologize. I obviously was having on my landline, some people were hearing an echo from me. So I definitely want to apologize. I switched over to my cell phone, so hopefully that's better. And as I thought I was on mute, you might have all heard me that I needed to charge it. So apologize. If we were live in Las Vegas, you'll see my red face. But so I appreciate you working through with us on this first of our live webinar. But the webcams were great, and we are so happy our winners could be in the room with us today. And I guess I also will just say I must be doing something right in my job, because there's amazing nominations and so many tremendous activities going on across the Americas, in Canada, the U.S., and growing in South America. So thank you for all that you do for the Vivit community. So besides the survey, I just want to wrap up and thank you all for joining, thank our nominees, and thank our winners as well. And the next conference that you can see Vivit at and bring your customers, et cetera, will be at the Protect in Washington, D.C., September 11th through the 13th. We have special Vivit speakers that will be having different sessions. So we definitely invite you to register using the Vivit URL for a special $200 discount. So again, please take advantage of that. If you do have any questions, you'll see here what you're able to get out of that. One-on-one meetings with HPE security executives as well. And you'll start to see more and more focus of security webinars from the Vivit community as well, as we're really growing along with HPE in that space. So again, we appreciate all of you being on this webinar today, our members. Richard, thank you so much for your time as representing us from our board. And again, thank you. And this will be recorded. You will get a link to a follow-up email, so you can share that with your community as well. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Terry. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.